Welcome to the Indigenous Careers Super Fair. My name is Leroy Wilkinson-Maher. I've been very grateful to be invited by Prosple to come and MC a panel with some expert guests today from some pretty exciting companies. So I'm looking forward to having a yarn with these fellas and they're getting to promote their programs and how they might be able to support you fellas. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge country. In these virtual settings, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of the lands in which we're meeting across the country and wherever we're joining from in this virtual landscape. I always like to pay my respects to our elders and those that have walked before us, because these types of places and spaces like the one we're in today would not have existed for our old people. My pop often reminds me that the world that he grew up in is very different to the world that I grow up in now, with the opportunities and the spaces that we have access to, the jobs we have access to, and the ways that we can participate in the economy and also develop our own economy. So never forget that their resistance, their power is enabling us to be in the positions that we're in today. And we must remember that and then carry our own legacy forward to make it better for the next gens. So I'd like to pay my respects to elders past, present, emerging, and acknowledge that we are all sitting on Aboriginal land. Sovereignty was never ceded, always was, always will be. All right, so my name's Leroy Wilkinson-Maher, as I just said. Been invited today to MC a panel with some pretty impressive Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here with us today. Very excited to get to know them a bit better and ask some pretty interesting questions to pitch to you fellas and vice versa. Now, at the end of the 30 minutes that we've got you will be sent back to the homepage and you'll have 63 employees waiting for you there. And if you click on employer, then you'll end up in their booth. So I encourage you to get involved. Likewise, any questions that you have today, you will see a Q&A function. So please don't be ashamed, submit questions to us so I can talk to our panel at the end of our few questions and we can answer some of your questions and make this really valuable for you. All right, so I'm going to hand it over to the panelists now. The first question I'm going to ask is I'd like you to introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from, who your mob is, and describe what your organisation does. Jonah, I'll throw to you first.
Lucky first.
Lucky.
Yeah, thanks, Leroy. I'm Jonah Johnson, Rajaroo man from Griffith in Riverina, New South Wales. That's my mother's country. My father's country is in Japan, Tokyo, Japan. I am one of six. I've got two brothers, three sisters. Obviously, they're very important to me. So that's sort of, I guess that's my why. And then in terms of my professional life, I work at Commonwealth Bank, so I look after the tertiary stream of the Indigenous Careers team at Commonwealth Bank. Sorry, left out that most important part. Yeah, and I've been here for about 5 years. So while I was going through university, I was working part-time and then transitioned onto the graduate program. And then rolled off the graduate program, now working full-time. So that was only 2 years ago. So I'm really familiar with what you guys are going through at the moment. That's me.
That's good. It's a good success to see that someone that came through a program like what we're pitching today is now sitting here as a panelist talking about it. That's brilliant. That's deadly. And I spent 7 years of my career with Commonwealth, so it always brings me back when I see CBA, which CBA is everywhere. So it always takes me back a little bit. And so before I go to you, Candace, I didn't even tell you who I am and where I'm from. So I'm Warramai Nunjiti man. I'll trump you with the siblings there, Jonah. I've got 12 siblings, and they 2 are my wire. I've got 4 of them in out-of-home care. So yeah, that's the reason why, as the oldest of a generation, we push hard, work hard, and try and make a better world, eh? I've just left that out completely. Good job, Leroy. Candace, ask you the same question. Introduce yourself, who you are, where you're from, and describe what your organisation does.
Yeah, my name is Candace Roberts. I am a Bundjalung woman from Casino, New South Wales, and I'm actually on Ngunnawal country in Canberra. I am part of Department of Defence, but even though I'm with Defence and we have our own graduate program, I actually facilitate whole of government Indigenous graduate recruitment. So this year, for example, 46 different government agencies my colleague and I have recruited for, and look, we're just willing, wanted to get out there, get the word word out there and get more mob on board and get them into public service, even though there's other great employers here, I know, that come to the public service, make a difference and change the world yourself.
There's a space for everyone. The more doors we open, the more can walk through, Candice.
100%.
That's fantastic. How many agencies did you recruit for?
This year it was 46. So
Wow.
look, I'm hoping that number's going to be even bigger next year. But yeah, this year, 46 different government agencies.
That's huge. Well done.
No
Kylie,
worries.
I'll throw over to you.
Hi everyone, my name's Kylie Jones, so I'm a Yamatji woman from the Midwest region, so I'm calling all the way from WA. I'm a diversity and inclusion advisor at Chevron Australia, so but primarily kind of focused on Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander employment and inclusion within the organisation.
Wow.
So Chevron, you may or may not have heard of them, but they're actually a global integrated energy company. So basically we explore for, produce and transport crude oil and natural gas, even things from refining and marketing, fuels and lubricants, manufacturing and selling petrochemicals, additives and all that stuff. And we also have quite a large investment around some of our developing and deploying technologies. So you might not necessarily think of that with an oil and gas company, but that's actually quite a significant part of our business. And that's really to, I guess, explore and overcome the challenges, I guess, in the energy industry. So that's a big part of our business as well. We've been present in Australia. Chevron has a long history kind of globally, but present in Australia for more than 60 years, primarily kind of on the West Coast. And so I'm currently sitting on Noongar Whadjuk country here in Perth, and been working and living down here for the last 15 or so years now, and most of our operations are actually in the Pilbara, so that's on the northwest coast of WA, in Onslow, which is Thalangi country, as well as out on Barrow Island as well. So yeah, exciting industry, lots of challenges in this space, but excited to be here today and kind of share a little bit about our organisation and hear from students as well.
Yeah, deadly. Thanks so much. I'll ask you the same question. How did you end up with Chevron?
So I actually joined many years ago. I get a bit hesitant to kind of say how many years because it's been so long, but I actually started doing a traineeship. So I really didn't know much about Chevron or the industry or anything like that. Had a, how it usually works. I had my sister's friend had worked here, heard about an opportunity, and I had applied and just so happened to kind of land in HR. And there was a lot of kind of activity. This was like 10 plus years ago, and they were starting to kind of develop, Aboriginal employment and participation strategies, things like that. So I was fortunate to kind of get involved in that, and that was clearly, a passion of mine and something I was kind of keen to really extend the opportunity that I had to other mob as well. So that's kind of led me down this path, and I've kind of been in and out of Chevron. I've kind of left and worked in public sector and consulting and all sorts of different things, but found my way back here just recently actually, and yeah, really enjoy the company, enjoy the people, the values, things like that. So yeah. That's
great. So there's a resounding message I'm hearing from most of the panelists is that it's one opportunity kind of skyrockets their careers, So really encourage you, like I said, to get involved, to ask questions, because this is where we start and this space has been created to get the interest and to get the conversation going. I'll move to the next question. So I want to ask, what is the most important piece of advice that you'd give to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students that are aspiring to work for your organisation? I'll go backwards this time. Kylie, I'll throw to you first.
Sure. The biggest piece of advice I would give is to check us out too. So, when you apply for roles and when you, looking at a place to go look, have a look at our website, visit, and find out more about our organisation and what we're doing. And because I guess part of the interview process, right, and kind of applying for jobs is also not so much about us kind of finding out about you, but it's also you finding out about us. So find out about our organisation and see if it's actually the type of work that maybe that you're excited about or that is of interest, because those are the I guess the opportunities that will also lead to kind of long-lasting sort of careers as well in that industry, if you have a, you know, personal kind of affiliation or have an interest in that. So it's more than, you know, just a job. Think of it, you know, as that kind of, you invest so much time and energy in your work, you spend so much time there, you want to be doing something and working for an organization that you have a personal kind of connection to, or that you can see the value in, and that you want to be a part of. So make sure that you kind of, spend the time kind of finding out about the organization, so that you can also make that assessment as to whether that's, you know, the right place for you as well.
Deadly. And I'll ditto that. It's always, there has to be some kind of a values alignment for you to work for an organization, because a job's a job, but a career means something to you. So ditto that, Kylie. Thank you. Candace, same question.
Yeah, I suppose, you know, especially when, you know, the advice are, you know, coming to work for us, we're recruiting for, you know, this year we had 46 agencies. Just come and be yourself and be authentic, and, you know, ask questions, and also be open to more opportunities. You know, people remember the big agencies, but there's a number of small, you know, agencies out there. You know, Aboriginal Hostels Limited, for example, they're small when you compare it to Defence, for example, but they're doing some really great work. So get in there, ask the questions, find out more, as Kylie and me have just said, find out more about their companies, but find out more about, you know, the opportunities that are out there in the wider public service. And you might be surprised that your skill sets align with many other agencies that you haven't even thought of.
That's brilliant. Brilliant. Jonah, what about you, brother?
Yeah, 100% echo what everyone else has said, especially, you know, Kylie mentioned sussing out organizations. I think an important part of this sort of process is definitely, you know, gathering as much information as you can about sort of each organization, and definitely reach out to, you know, people like us. A lot of organizations and corporates, or, you know, businesses, they do have people like us in these roles, and our job is to help mob get jobs, basically. So definitely do your research, reach out. Another big thing is cast your net wide. Like, you know, you'll often find in these processes of talking, you know, attending stuff like this, you know, you'll look at like a place like CommBank, and you think it's only banking, but a lot of organizations and corporates they're huge. So there's you know, it's often a case there is a job for yourself. I think the biggest guiding factor, and something that I've sort of, you know, lent on a lot, is sort of figuring out, you know, what my why is. I mentioned when I introduced myself, you know, my why is, you know, my family, my community. Every day I go to work, that's what you know, that's everything I do, you know, throughout the day, it lends itself to that. So I think once you sort of find out your why and what you're passionate about, you know, you can be really flexible. You don't have to, you know, pigeon yourself and go, I want to be an accountant, or not. Sorry, I don't mean to ostracize any accountants out there, but, you know, don't pigeonhole yourself in terms of I'm going to be just an accountant. What you'll find is a lot of you know, employers, they're not necessarily, they're sort of shifting their gaze a bit. They're not going, oh, we need a specific discipline to do this job. It's open to, you know, like we've got IBM, for example, our institutional banking and markets business unit. They take anyone from any discipline. You just have to show a genuine interest in you know, the work that the business does. So yeah, cast your net wide, and, you know, start thinking about your why.
That's really good advice. So the advice that we're hearing is align yourself to the organization, do your research, make sure you figure out who it is that you're looking at and why. What attachment do you have to the type of work and the industry that they're in, and cast your net wide. So make sure you're always looking and scanning at what potential horizons are out there. Because there's something that I've always worked with in terms of my recruitment of staff, and I always think about, I can teach you how to do a job, but I can't teach you to care about it. So it's really important that you care about what you do, but also keep your eyes open, because your career path may change from time to time, right? Next question I'm going to ask you fellas is, what is your organization looking for in an applicant? So for the guys that are on the call today, so what do they need to show you to get a job with you? I'll throw to Candice first. I'm just going to keep it spicy and throw to random people each time, eh?
I like it. I like it. I suppose what we're looking for, we want diversity of thought. I'm recruiting for all degree types. So unlike some other employers who might be looking, even though Jonah said, might be looking, you're not just an accountant, that there'll be other things. We're definitely everything, including, marine biology. There's agencies out there that want those degrees. So, and just, stay focused during these periods. We're well aware that graduates put in multiple applications for graduate programs, which they should. We've just mentioned about casting that net nice and wide. But just, make sure that, when you go into whatever, process it is, that you know about that organisation and you're informed. But we're looking for really well-rounded candidates. We have quite a number of tests that go along with our process. But yeah, just speak up in those group activities. I know it can be a little bit of shame out there for a number of us when you're in those group settings, but speak up, don't be afraid, because you're in a safe environment. I guarantee that.
Deadly. Thanks, Candice. Kyla, what about you? What's Chevron looking for?
I guess very similar in terms of, the alignment with our values. And so that's kind of like behaviour. So kind of what you touched on around, we can always teach you how to do the job and teach you kind of about the business and things like that. But the point around kind of how you behave and what values you have and how you care about the work is really important. So a lot of the things that we kind of look through, like through the application process and things like that, are your behaviour. So how you demonstrate kind of integrity and trust and your care and concern for others, and that's really something that we value really highly. We take that very, very seriously. So I guess that's, think about kind of how you demonstrate some of those values, that we have, and make sure you talk to those in any kind of application and things like that, because that's often the thing. And I think most employers are fairly similar in kind of recruiting for those behaviours, because you can always kind of teach someone how to do the job, and you can always kind of learn that through experience and time in the role. But the behaviours is a little bit harder to kind of teach. So if you can kind of demonstrate those and make sure you talk up and sort of show those and give examples and things like that, that usually is kind of what we're looking for.
Deadly, thank you. Jonah, what about CommBank? What's CommBank looking for in their applicants?
Anyone.
Anyone, everyone.
Anyone. No, we've got 16 different graduate streams that you can apply for. So the culture within each sort of business stream that you're applying for, is different. But generally, we're looking for people that show genuine interest, are driven, and we're not, like everyone said, employers aren't necessarily looking for graduates to have had the experience, because you won't have that yet. It's just how you sort of conduct yourself, and how you sort of get work done. Like I said, we're sort of seeing a bit more of a shift in terms of who employees are sort of taking on as candidates. You can be from any discipline working in any sort of business stream or anything like that. Like our previous sort of like go-to-market campaign for our graduate program was unlikely matches. So it was sort of trying to break down, the idea that you're sort of pigeonholed in the one lane once you join. That's not the case. Like we have engineers working in our enterprise services teams in tech, because we see value in engineers as being problem solvers. That sort of approach. So yeah, as we've all said, like definitely suss out as much information as you can. And don't be scared to sort of apply to something that interests you.
And I think something else that's valuable too, fellas, is just remember that people are in jobs. So the people that are sitting in front of you are just people too. So when you do want to reach out and get support or ask questions, although you might be a bit ashamed and think it's dumb, A very good lesson that I learned very late on in my career was that CEOs are just people, executives are people. So there's always a face behind a job. So there's someone that can help you if you have got those silly questions that you might be too ashamed to ask. But better off asking the question than getting it wrong, right? Conscious that we have got 3 minutes left, so I'm going to skip to a question. I'm going to give you fellas one last little shot at pitching the organisation. So in one sentence or one statement, I'll say, why should these fellas that are on the call today apply with you? Why are you best for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander graduates?
Yeah,
what do you reckon? What you say?
Yeah, one application, many opportunities. So as I said, I keep saying it, 46 agencies were on board this year. And we had candidates receive multiple offers from agencies during the offer round. So, we can link you up to a number of great organisations, departments out there with fantastic work going on. And it's not just Canberra based, even though, misconception. A number of the big offices are here. We've got them across opportunities across country. So, we'll connect you with the right people.
That's great. One application, many opportunities. That's deadly. And I have got a quick question for you to answer too, Candice, to come through Q&A. Someone's asking about some government agencies require whole of life address history for particular security clearances. Are you able to provide any advice for those who may not have had an official address for periods of time?
Yeah, fortunately for the person that's asked this, you're asking the right person, because for 6.5 years, I used to do security clearance checks for the government. So I used to be the person sitting on the other side going, tell me everything about you. That whole of life check is in relation to the positive vetting security clearance, the highest level of security clearance in the Australian government. Some of the lower ones only require 5 years or even 10 years. But the agency, the Australian Government Security Vetting Agency, will work with you. If you're unable to provide, evidence or have those, there's a period of time where you can't validate, they'll work with you. There's always a way. I don't want to say around it, but there's always a solution to this.
All right, deadly. Thank you. All right, we are at 2:30. I'm going to go over time, guys. So Prosple, don't kick us out, please. Jonah, I'll throw to you, brother. Pitch CommBank to grads.
We got a job for everyone. We do, but no, I'd say sort of having experienced the program and been at the bank for 5 years, we've definitely built a culture internally with all the blackfellas that work there. I can say stand by. We are a safe workplace to work at. We've got a lot of support for mob internally, and in terms of our graduate program. It is world class. You are exposed to, some world class development and leadership sessions. The idea of a graduate program is accelerated leadership, and that the 18-month program really sets you up well for your careers.
Amen. And I spent like I said 7 years with CommBank, and it's a big world. So I guess the grad program's a way to get in and have a look at it. And then when you're inside, you can realize the magnitude and the size of all of these organizations. And that then opens doors to possibilities and going, where can I go next? And CommBank is a place that does support that. So thanks, Jonah. Kylie, Chevron. Why should people apply with Chevron?
I guess from an industry perspective, the world needs energy. So we really need, the next generation of problem solvers, innovators, because it is a challenging industry, particularly going forward around kind of supplying the world with energy going, and not reliant on kind of fossil fuels and things like that. We need that now. We need that, every day. But certainly there's challenges ahead around kind of how we provide energy to the world kind of into the future. So we need fresh minds. We need people that are up for the challenge and that can help us kind of on that journey as well and help, I guess, the world. So we have a number of we have Aboriginal cadetship program and our graduate program, and they're really designed to kind of provide similar to, I guess, many other graduate programs around kind of the accelerated development. So you're provided with mentorship, a lot of sort of training, both in the technical and kind of soft skills as well, to help you during your time. And I guess everyone wants to see you succeed. So there's no shortage of support and guidance whilst you're on the program, and people that you can reach out to and get the support you need. And I guess being an international organisation as well, there's obviously the broad range of opportunities. It's really up to you and what you're prepared to kind of commit to and what you want to pursue. And you know, there's really sort of a whole world out there to kind of to sort of dip your toe in. So
amazing.
Yeah,
amazing. You guys are incredible. Make me very happy. Make my heart sing seeing black fellas in these types of jobs. It's really impressive. Just remember, guys, any final questions, get them through. I've got a question for you that's come through. Someone said, I'm an older student currently doing an MBA. What opportunities do you have for pathways into management roles? Open forum.
I can jump into that one. I guess from a traditionally cadetships, you know, and even Chevron previously were, you know, it was kind of a little bit restrictive in that it was only offered to undergraduate students or students kind of doing, undergrad basically, and hadn't necessarily done a cadetship before and things like that. But we've certainly opened that up now when, and it's basically any Aboriginal student that's studying at university, any university in Australia. So if you're doing kind of advanced education, it doesn't necessarily have to be an undergrad degree to be eligible, to be considered. And so I guess I would just encourage you to kind of check it out and reach out and, you know, chuck your hat in and give it a go if that's something that you're kind of wanting to look at.
Deadline. Anyone else got anything to add to that one?
Yeah, it's same for us. Any if you're studying at uni, studying masters or anything like that, you're eligible for the graduate program. But in terms of, you know, if you're not actually wanting to, you know, do the 18-month program, you know, there are other options to go straight into you know, a role or anything like that. I look after the tertiary stream, but we've got within Indigenous Careers, we've got two others. In terms of experience and direct hires, that's where a bulk of our hires come from. And then we've also got school-based traineeships and traineeships as well. So we've got supports for sort of, anyone at sort of any stage that's looking.
Deadly. Awesome.
And for us, generally speaking, most government agencies will require you to have a minimum 3-year undergrad degree, and then your last tertiary qualification within the last 5 years. So it can be a little bit limiting, but not out of the question with having just the MBA, for example.
Absolutely.
Okay, deadly. Awesome, amazing. Well, if there's no more questions that are going to come through, guys, we might wrap up. 6 minutes over time. That's pretty good for me. I'd like to thank all the panelists that jumped in, Kylie, Mia, Candice, and Jonah, representing Honeywell, Commonwealth Bank. Kylie, just remind me, because you're so big now. Yeah, Chevron, and then Candice.
Whole of government Indigenous graduate recruitment.
This is a small one. I would have tangled myself up on that one. But thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. And thank you for shining a torch for Mob to see that we have got blackfellas progressing careers in these spaces. That blows my mind hearing about some of the companies that you're working for and the jobs that you're doing. So make me very proud. I'm very excited for all of you, and I'm excited for you grads. So now I think you'll be kicked over, if I'm not wrong, Richard, over to the main lobby, and then you'll be able to join employers' booths. So with that being said, I'll wrap up now and I'll hand over to you, Richard.
That's right, Leroy. Head back to the homepage or check your email inbox. You should have plenty of links there. There's 63 employers lining up to speak with you, so you can jump in and have probably an exclusive chat with a lot of them. So make the most of it. Thanks everyone for showing up, and big thank you to Leroy for masterfully taking us through this session, and thank you to all our panelists.
Thank you, guys. And sorry for going over time a little bit.
Not a problem. Very, very interesting.
Thanks, fellas. Enjoy the fair, eh?